This is Dimitri Lascaris reporting for The Real News from the deck of the Freedom, one of the 4 ships making up the Freedom Flotilla to Gaza this year, 2018. I'm joined here today by Ulduz Javidi, who is a candidate for election for the Feminist Party in Sweden in the upcoming national election. And I'm also joined by Jens Markland, who's a Swedish seaman and the captain of the vessel. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
So I'd like to start with you, Ulduz. Why are you participating in this rather unusual expedition?
Well, as you said, I'm a politician for the Feminist Party, and so it's prime time right now to make a campaign in my country to get votes. But when I got the question of if I wanted to participate in Ship to Gaza and the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, it was very simple because it actually means that I can do an actual act to make a real change in a conflict that's going on right now. And that's the kind of politician I want to be, because I'm not interested in making a political career. I'm interested in making actual changes.
And Jens, yourself, what motivated you not only to be a part of the expedition, but to assume the responsibilities of being captain of the vessel?
Well, the later part was the easiest one. I mean, that's what I like doing. So, but the first part, well, a man's got to do something. The situation for refugees all over the world is very acute. We see all kinds of recession in the democratic field all over the world, and even in our country. And the Palestinian question seems to be at the moment, the worst one. And I simply have to do something. I have to answer my grandchildren's questions. What did you do in those days when the crisis was here? And I would like to say that I was part of those trying to do it at least a little bit.
Now, Ulduz, what is the position of your party, the Feminist Party, with respect to the BDS movement? And more broadly, what do you think about the policies of the current Swedish government, the incumbent government, towards the whole issue of Israel and Palestine?
Well, unfortunately, the Swedish government right now is very quiet and is taking, I would say, no action at all towards what's going on in Gaza and the Palestinian people. But the Feminist Party is supporting a free Palestine and supporting the BDS movement, definitely.
And if you were to become part of a coalition government, if the Feminist Party were to actually have a role in government, do you think that the party would be minded to advocate for some sort of sanctions on the state of Israel in order to ensure its respect for international law?
Yes, for sure.
Now, Jens, I understand you've participated in a prior voyage, or perhaps more than one, and that on one occasion a boat was prevented from actually getting to Gaza or even close to Gaza because of something that happened in the territorial waters of Greece. Could you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, that was in 2015, and I was asked by the Ship to Gaza movement to help to fix up the vessel Giuliano, an old Italian motor boat, and to repair it after a couple of years of decay, and then to be its captain for part of the voyage. And we went down there actually to Corfu, where it was lying, in February at first, to fix up all the engines, get them started, so we did. And then we went down in June to actually start the voyage. And we had the vessel all prepared. It was in reasonably bad shape, actually. It was an old vessel, but functioning. And we actually moved her a couple of times, bunkering water, etc., in the next door harbour. So everything was working nicely. And then at 4 o'clock in the morning of a Friday, Midsummer's Day Eve, we set out, and immediately we could feel vibrations in the hull. And after just half an hour, or maybe 45 minutes, our friend Charlie came up yelling, "Stop the starboard engine!" And of course I did. And it turned out that there was water sprouting through a couple of holes in the hull. As later we understood that the propeller shaft had pulled out the bolts of the P-bracket that's holding it at the end, and creating a couple of holes. And we had to quickly fix those holes, of course, not to sink, but that's wasn't too complicated. It could be do with cutting apart some pieces of furniture. And then we had to sort of link back to harbour on the remaining engine, which was the bad one. We got into harbour on Corfu again, and there we took our diving equipment and went down to check what was wrong. And there we could clearly see that both shafts had a definite bend on them at the same spot. So my guess is that someone had taken one of those chain ratchets or whatever and just pulled the shafts together. A diver had done that. It's actually while we were on the boat.
So the boat was ultimately, by means of apparent sabotage, prevented from completing the voyage.
Oh, that's correct. It must have been sabotage. I see no other reason for this, no technically possible reason for this.
And how generally would you characterize the attitude of the Greek government towards the Freedom Flotilla and prior expeditions?
Well, it would be hard for me as a sort of visitor to the country to say so much about Greece. I don't know so much about Greek politics, but we did not receive a friendly reception, I can say that. We met a sort of hostile attitude from all the authorities we were dealing with there, and actually also from some people there in the harbour of Corfu. They were not openly hostile, but a bit sort of holding us back, and we did feel unwelcome, that's for sure.
Which is, I would like to say, the opposite of what we've experienced so far on this journey.
Certainly.
Every country that we've come to so far has been amazingly welcoming and we've got a beautiful reception. We got people coming in, meeting us when we came into the countries. We have politicians who came and joined the cause. We had the mayor in Cadiz who held a very beautiful speech and gave us a gift. So that's amazing to see how the reactions in the rest of the world has been towards
Even
us.
the police have been nice.
Yes.
England, Spain, and Portugal have been at the worst correct, but most of them have been very kind to us and very, very welcoming.
Well, perhaps the tide has begun to turn. Now, I understand, Ulduz, that you've had a personal surprise which has affected your plans for this particular expedition. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, I can. Well, the thing is, you make all of this. No. You make all of these plans, and my plan was definitely to go all the way to Gaza. But then, and I had all my dedication into it. I was going to do it. Nothing was going to stop me. Not even my mother, who was very, very upset. But life kind of comes in the way. And in this case, it's literally a life that has come in the way. So on board Freedom, I noticed that there is a little life growing inside me. And because of that, I was prepared to put myself into a conflict with Israeli soldiers, but I am not prepared to risk my child. So that's why I'm gonna go off the boat and I'm gonna go on land, but that doesn't prevent me from supporting the cause, which is actually on the last length. The most important people are the ones who are on land, because all communication from the boats will be cut off. So the voices, the ears, the eyes is everybody out there who can not only be the voices of the Palestinian people, but also look out for the security of the people on the ships and let Israel know that the world is watching.
Well, I want to thank you both very much for taking time from this voyage to speak to The Real News.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is Dimitri Lascaris reporting from the deck of the Freedom for The Real News Network.